Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology and leading literate lives. We talk all things books and reading and notebooks and writing, mixed in with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. You can expect regular weekly episodes focused on 3 books you need to know about on a bookish theme and how to bring those themes to life in our actual lives too. You can also expect author interviews, notebooking inspiration, and topics to help us grow through what we go through and take inspired action to make our lives better. So grab a notebook and your TBR list and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Get Literate podcast. I'm Stephanie, your host, here to talk to you about a literate experiment I've been playing around with over the last couple of months, of course, as a direct result of a book that I've read. Now, a while back, I read a book titled Your Perfect Year by Charlotte Lucas. It was an incredible book. It followed Hannah and Jonathan in their very unexpected and creative ways that their lives collide. So Jonathan is a man who is very set in his ways. He does the same things at the same time every day, and he does it because he thinks he should, not because he's actually enjoying his life at all. Hannah is the opposite. She is a brand new business owner with a very positive outlook on life, but she's struggling to help someone close to her change his mindset too. On New Year's morning, Jonathan finds a year-long planner on a bench during his morning run. He looks at this planner, he tries to open it up to see who it might belong to so he can give it back. And what he finds, what he finds is that this year-long planner is for the year ahead, and it is already completely filled out. There are inspiring quotes, there are daily tasks, there are even some fun planned events as he flips through the pages. Now, he tries very, very hard to find this owner, but he can't. And eventually, he decides to look at the planner as a gift and follow those entries exactly as the person who created the perfect year wanted to. And in that process, as you can imagine, it changes Jonathan's life completely. Now, it's told in alternating chapter voices, so we get a close look at both Jonathan's life and Hannah's life. But the best part is that you get a dose of therapy in this book based on real scientific facts on how the mind works, how this perfect year planner can actually change someone's mindset, someone's actions, and someone's life. You really have to read this book. I loved it. And I think the lessons inside on the pages could actually help you change what your tomorrow looks like too. And in my review, I said, you must read this book. And then you must join me in my new adventure. Read the book and you'll figure out what it is. Well, whether you've read the book or not, I'm going to share that little adventure that I have been on over the last couple of months because I really do think it could be a great tool for everyone. Now, in the book, that file of facts that Jonathan found on the bench, as I mentioned, was filled in. Right? He was expecting a planner from the year before that someone left behind on New Year's Eve, but instead it was a forward acting file of facts, and it had quotes in it, to-do lists, events, new practices to try, quick writes to do in this notebook, reminders. It was this personalized and perfect planner for whoever the recipient was intended to be. Do you see where I'm starting to go with this? I bet you do. As I read the book, the only thing I could think of was, I want one. I want one. I want someone to make this for me. I want someone to do this very thing for me. But unfortunately, there is no one here to make that for me. But fortunately, I can make one for myself. And that's what I did. February 2024, I made a forward planning planner with 28 days of entries. Let me read a couple of them to you. I had a quote on just about all of the pages. So, for example, here's one, because in February, I was working on launching my restorative reading course and trying to do some fun things in the podcast world. And so on February 4th, I had a quote by George Eliot. It's never too late to be what you might have been. And then underneath that, I said, per Beth Kempton, write a list of your big, bold dreams. Choose one dream and write a list of micro action steps you could take starting today. So there was one entry on, let's see, that was Sunday, February 4th. You might hear me flipping through that, that calendar. Another day I had, because February was the Acts of Kindness month, on Thursday, February 15th, my quote was by Maya Angelou, try to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. And on that day, I said, donate at least 5 items of clothing from your closet. And I did, right? So the calendar just had entries like that. There was a quote almost every day, and then something tied to that quote that I could do to make that day better, that week better, and then, of course, hopefully that month better. I was so proud of it. I loved it. I was doing it. I was going to have my perfect month, if not the perfect year, since I was only doing 1 month at a time. But here's the thing. It didn't work. It didn't work. It did not have the transformative effect that it had on Jonathan that I was hoping it had on me. And as I reflected, I realized there were three reasons why. Reason number one, I randomly made the calendar, right? I just pulled quotes that I liked. I thought of some random text that might be good for me to do and just pulled some ideas out of the air to plop down in the calendar, right? When this calendar was made in the book, it was very intentional. It was very specific to that person and the goals of that person. And mine was just randomly making it, having some fun. Not a bad thing, but I think that randomness made it so that it just didn't fit together some weeks. Now, number two, which I would say was probably my bigger mistake, is that when I made the calendar, I didn't pay attention to my actual life. I did not pay attention to the events that were there or the busy Zoom meetings that I would have on other days or the fact that it was a work day versus a weekend. I just plopped down some really cool ideas. And then I'd realize on that day that it was just not feasible for me to do. And so some of the days were a fail because of my poor planning, which I know is ironic because I'm literally planning a planner. And then number three, there were so many times in February that I just forgot to look at the planner I made for myself. My routine is to look at my Google Planner. It's to look at my Google Keep. It isn't to look at a paper calendar outside of my podcasting schedule. And so I didn't keep this calendar out front and center, and I just forgot to look at it. If it wasn't in my line of vision, I forgot about it. If it wasn't in my routine, I forgot about it. So I did feel in February that my epic idea was an epic fail, but I still loved it. I still loved this idea of creating this ideal month to help you move in the direction that you want to go, right? I mean, I talk about my monthly Literate Love episodes and I plan for what I want my literate life to look like every month. I really wanted this idea to work in my actual life too. So I tried again. I did another month. This time, I was more intentional. I choose a one-word theme inside of my Get Literate Patreon community that we can read and write and learn and love ourselves into. And so in my second calendar, I chose a theme that I could then pull everything together around. Rather than this randomness of me searching for things, I first chose a theme and then I pulled quotes and ideas and actions and notebook prompts, etc. I felt like that was a more intentional way to go. And I felt better about it as I was looking through the entries. It felt like things were tying together and coming together over time. Number two, I better used my actual life calendar. When there was something of an event, I didn't put it on a weekday, I put it on the weekend. If there was something I put on the calendar, I needed to make sure it could actually be done on that day, given what my work schedule looked like. And so that helped tremendously too. I didn't feel like I had to give up the day's events before the day even began because I had already placed those personal things on my calendar and then I built it from there. And then number three, I kept it out. I kept it out. I bought this craft colored binder that I knew I could decorate, and I had it out near my desk every day. And that made me look at it a little bit more. So it was better. It was much better. But I realized in that month, I actually went too far off the deep end in the planning. In the book, Jonathan starts his morning with a cup of coffee at his dining room table and eagerly flips the page to the next day to see what's in store for him. Some days are meaty, right? There's something big to dig into, but other days just might be one little quote to think about. And I realized I needed to do the same thing. It didn't have to be an intense, let's get your perfect month. It just had to be something to make the day better. So I knew I could do it better again. And so that's what I'm doing. And now I'm here talking about it with you because the third try is the charm, in my opinion. And that means in April of 2024, this forward thinking perfect month calendar is going to be the best one it could be. I have already created it and I am ready to get started with it. It's going to be even more intentional around a theme. And if you are in my Get Literate Patreon community, you know that I release a new theme of the month. And that theme this year is Obaitori. I know, isn't that such a cool word, Obaitori? It's a Japanese word that means bloom in your own time and basically bloom in your own way. If we boiled it down to a phrase, the phrase is you do you, Obaitori. And so I created an April calendar to celebrate Obaitori and springtime. I made sure that it was aligned with my actual life calendar, learned from the previous lessons, and I'm going to keep it front and center in a different way. I still have the binder, but I'm going to get one of those like paper protectors, or you can get them a little bit sturdier in the Target bins that I love. And I'm going to keep it out front and center. So it literally is the first thing that I see in the morning. And I want for you to join me. I want for you to think that April could be your perfect month too. I want you to have a planner filled out completely just for you. Now you might be thinking, Stephanie, I do not have time to do that. You may have thought that this was a cool thing to do 3 times, but that's not how I roll. But here's the thing. I made this calendar for myself. Even though I wish some magical character would have created it for me, they didn't. So I want to be that character for you. Take mine. Use mine. I have already made it. It is all printed out and ready to go and decorated. Why not use mine? I have it so that it is freely available for you to download and print and just have fun with throughout the month. If you want, you definitely could create your own, but if you don't have time, my completed calendar is here for you. So I want to talk about it though. I want to share with you how I made this calendar how you might use your calendar as well. It's not quite the same file of facts that is in the book. It is a weekly spread, but quite frankly, it's still awesome. And so if you want to download mine, you can find the link to do that in the show notes. But if you want to make your own, modeled after how I made this month, I want to share with you the 5 steps it takes. Okay, so step number 1, which is basically the first step to almost any kind of big project, is to set your intention. In the book, the intention was set for Jonathan to help him get a more positive mindset and be more flexible in his life. But what might your intention be? Do you have a one-word theme of the year that you could use for this month? Do you choose one-word themes for the month, like I do? Do you want to borrow obitory or something else? So set your intention. The way I set it is that I thought of that big one-word theme, but I also went back to my New Year's intentions, right? And my New Year's intentions, resolutions, goals, they're based around feelings. I want to feel pain-free and healthy. I want to do what I love and feel financially secure doing it. And I want to have a happy home with happy people in it. Those are my big 3. So you could think about how you want to feel in this coming month. You could also borrow the framework I use for my restorative reading practice, which is, who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And what do you want to do? You could ask yourself those 3 questions at the start of the month and jot down your responses. What you say then dictates the kinds of things you put on your calendar, because you want your calendar to move you in the direction that you want to go. And so you have to figure out where you want to go first. Now, if you have any particular goals you want to reach in that month, whether they are professional or personal, you could jot them down there. If you're really working on your physical health, maybe a lot of your calendar revolves around motivation to keep going. If you're working on your mental health, maybe you have inspiring quotes and some prompts for your notebook, etc. Now, the other thing to set your intention around is just a little bit more whimsical. And I experimented with this, and it is great fun. Look up the national holidays. First off, in your month, there may be big holidays to celebrate, and you want to put those down. But there can be some fun days, like, National Hot Dog Day or National Donut Day. I don't know why only the food days are coming to mind right now, but it can be fun to browse those and choose 1 or 2 that you want to celebrate to just have a little bit more fun in the month. And I'll talk to you about my April calendar in a moment, and there are some of those more whimsical national holidays in them, especially to embrace obitory. So step 1, set your intention, decide what you want your month to look and feel and sound like. And then number 2 is to collect inspiration. Collect inspiration and ideas. Now, you can go anywhere for this. You could head to the internet. You could go to the library. You could go window shopping and browse and get creative, right? So many ways to collect inspiration from so many sources. So for me, some obvious ways to collect inspiration for the month ahead are to find quotes that I love. So I can get out my quote notebook from the books I've read, or I can just head online and search for quotes around a particular topic. Of course, there are books that we could read to help us live into those goals and intentions. And so if you have books that you know you want to read that month, you can put on your calendar when you're going to start it and when you're going to read it. Notebook prompts. Just Google whatever your goal is, plus the words journal prompts or notebook prompts, and you'd be surprised at what you find. Take 1 or 2 or 3 or even 1 a week of them and put it on your calendar. And if you don't want to write in your notebook, no big deal. You can actually just pencil in some things in the entry on the printed planner that I have. Now, inspiration and ideas can be also things that you might not expect. Like, what are just some things to do that could embrace that idea? Little tiny micro things as well as bigger actions. What are some practices or rituals you might want to try or begin in the month that could help you? What are some small acts of courage that you could take to put on your calendar? I just shared this not too recently as a great spring writing idea for your notebook. And so if you made a list of those acts of courage for yourself in the spring, kind of going along that lines of uplit, right, for reading and writing, then take one or two or three of them and pop them in your calendar. And then Julia Cameron would be very proud of us if we scheduled an author's date, not an author's date, although she'd be proud of that too, an artist date or two or three on your calendar as well. So you've set your intention and then you've let yourself just marinate in that intention and had some fun finding things to collect to put into your calendar. Now, the third step is to outline your calendar. This is what you need to do first to avoid the mistake that I made. I want you to take your actual life events and the reality of your actual days, and I want you to put them in your calendar first. So if you have big meetings you have to attend, if you have to go out of town, if there are functions, whatever there is, if there are things that you must do, put them on the calendar. Now, you do not have to put the minutia of your days on this calendar. And in fact, I didn't because I just wanted to see the inspiring stuff. My Google Calendar has everything else. But I needed to know the big overall macro look at it so that I didn't plan something in my ideal calendar that was an instant fail because of how my life worked. So plug in your actual life events. Think about the realistic days that you have, weekdays versus weekend, so that you can plan from there. You also might want to put in at this point, before you start layering that inspiration on, any local events you want or need to attend. Is there a book club in your community that you want to attend? Put that down. Is there a play that you want to see? Is there a cooking class that you wanted to take? Is there an outdoor yoga class? What are those events in April that you might want to attend? Or I guess I should say any month that you are doing this process. So head to events.com online and look up what's going on in your community. Get that local free newspaper, at least we have one, it's called The Chronicle, that you can take that lists all of the events for the area. And let that be inspiration as well. Plop those down on the calendar so that you have the basic bare bones and the frame ready to go, so that now, step 4, you can create the magic, which basically is you're going to plot all that inspiration you gathered onto your calendar in whatever way you like. So you're going to put the quotes in. You're going to jot down the micro actions you want to take, the self-love acts that you could take care of yourself with, acts of kindness perhaps for others, the reading you want to do, the writing you want to do, the notebook prompts, all of that stuff that you collected that you thought would be inspiration for whatever intention you set. It's time to put it in the calendar. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, there is no specific formula. There's no magic way of doing this. It's yours, right? So whatever works and whatever feels good in your mind, go for it. If you are someone that needs a structure, maybe you look at it as a weekly block and say, every week I want at least 2 quotes, 1 notebook prompt, 1 small act of self-care, 1 act of care for others, and then a micro action that's going to get me out of my comfort zone. Maybe those are the things you want every week. But maybe you're not like that. Maybe you don't like a framework or an outline and you want it to be random and spontaneous and fun. And so you just plop them down wherever you want. That's fine too. I tended to do a little mix of both. I have some things that are similar across the weeks because I love quotes, I love notebooking prompts, and I want to read. But then there are other random things based on those fun national holidays or things that'll get me closer to my goals or embrace Obitory as that overall theme for the month. So there's no particular way you have to do this, but I want to give you a little sneak peek into some of the things that are on mine. Okay, so starting off right off the bat, April 1st, Monday, happens to be April Fool's Day. And so I just put on there today, figure out one small prank that you could try on your family, right? Something little. Gretchen Rubin does this. I love it. I often steal some ideas from her. But because Monday is Monday, and I always say that books make Mondays better, every Monday of the calendar says 5:30, find 30 minutes of consecutive time to read. And why 30 minutes? Because 30 minutes of reading has the same effect on your parasympathetic nervous system as 30 minutes of yoga. Yes, it does. So I want every Monday to have that dedicated 30-minute chunk of time. And I'm putting in the books that I want to read this month too. I don't know if I'll get to all of them, but they will be there as a reminder that I want to read them. And I want at least this chunk of time on Mondays to kick off the week starting strong. Now, I've got on another day in April, I'm really into affirmations lately. And so I have a reminder to do my morning affirmations and to actually write them on my calendar every day for that week. April 3rd is National Walking Day. So I told myself to take a 2-mile vision walk. And if you're inside my Grow a Restorative Reading course, then you know a vision walk is a particular walk that's really good for your eyes so that we can take the stress off of them so that we can read and write more. We may also think of it as a literal vision walk, kind of imagining the month ahead. Now, just some other random things in here. On one day during the week, one of the days that I knew was a busy Zoom meeting day, I said, you need a 5-minute silence break in the middle of the day. Set your 5 minutes in between your Zoom meetings and allow yourself to do nothing. On another day, I have a 1-hour no electronic device recommendation, right? You can't bloom in your own way and you do you if you are constantly attached to your phone. And I'm on my phone too much. I've got other days in there, like April 10th is National Siblings Day. April 11th is National Pet Day. And so I've got some little micro actions planned around those. I've got a day for 3 random acts of kindness. I've got a day for a little micro action of self-care. And I've got a really cool notebook prompt for O by Tori too, which is on one of the days, write a list of 10 things you love about yourself, but I'm not stopping there. It's not 10 things you love about yourself right now. It's 10 things you love about the self you are becoming, right? Playing along with that O by Tori theme. On one day, I say bake something that you've never baked before. On another day, a Friday, tell me 3 good things from the work week. I've got things like make a joy list, make a second joy list and leave it where someone else might find it. On one day, I say to watch the video of the flowers blooming that you love. It matches with the theme and it's this really cool time-lapse video that is just gorgeous. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And letter writing month is in April. And so I've got some prompts there to buy some new handmade cards from my favorite places and to send them out to people that I love. So that's not the whole calendar, but you get the idea of how I've kind of created that magic and plotted the inspiration. And remember, if you just want to download and print mine to see what it looks like or to give it a try in April too, that will be in the show notes for you to do. Now, the next step, step 5, I actually said there were 5 steps, but technically the last one has to happen too. So I guess there are 6. Step 5, I want you to get creative. Now, it doesn't have to be creativity that's overwhelming. This does not have to be a pretty calendar. And mine is not a pretty artistic calendar, but it is fun and it is a little bit creative. Use colorful markers, right? Or if you didn't use colorful markers, get out your stickers, get out your washi tape, get out your watercolors, decorate the binder that it's in. Whatever you want to do, just bring a little creativity to it. Now, maybe you do that creativity now in the planning process. And so when you look at it all month, you're just more joyful. because Ingrid Fattel Lee says the more color and shapes in our lives, the happier we are. So looking at the calendar could literally bring you joy if you bring a creative element to it. Or maybe you want to do this as you go. Maybe every Sunday, as you look at the week ahead, you do something differently, creatively on it. So maybe one week you watercolor over it. The next week you get out your stickers. Week after that is the washi tape. The week after that is all the colorful markers. You could do this as you go to bring that creativity to you in a live sort of way. But either way, you want to add it. You definitely want to add it because it just brings another layer of happiness, I guess, to it. It's just fun to let yourself play, with paints or stickers or whatever your medium is and just jazz up your calendar a little bit. Now, step 6 isn't really a step, but it's a reminder of something you must do in order to make this project come to life, and that's display it. Keep it in your line of vision so that you don't forget about it. I know it seems like you wouldn't forget about it, but I did, and I made it, and I wanted to do it. And so it's easy to let those little daily actions slide if you forget about them because you didn't see them. So put it out on your desk, put it up on the bulletin board, tape it to the refrigerator. I know that probably sounds weird to say tape it, but we have a stainless steel refrigerator and we can't put magnets on it. So maybe you magnetize it to your fridge. Maybe you put it up somewhere. It could be that binder that sits out, but as I mentioned, that paper protector, those really wonderful things that you can slide the paper in from Target work really well for this. And then you can have it out and it's protected. Maybe it's propped up behind your coffee maker so that you can pull it out and take a look at it. You want to display it. Now, I mentioned that Jonathan every morning took out his Filofax, had a cup of coffee, and looked at the day's event in the morning. He did not cheat and he did not go ahead because he wanted that surprise. I can't really give you that element because I have paced mine out as a weekly calendar. So instead, you might do this on Sunday. Have your cup of coffee or your cup of tea, look at the week ahead and the small little acts of obitory and happiness that are planned there, and kind of get your mindset ready and remind yourself of what you said you wanted to do so that it puts you in the frame of mind to actually remember to do it. Now, I think that April could be the month that all of this sticks. I've made it very intentionally. I've made it to match the reality of my life. I've made it to match my goals and my intentions and my one-word theme. I've created things that I know I will love to read or do or experience that are going to make me feel better. I got a little creative with it. This month was really, I just had fun with paint and Q-tips. And when you see it, you will understand. And it's going to be displayed. I do have mine in my binder, but I plan to use that paper protector and keep one out front and center. I have a big cork board next to my desk and I see my desk every day. And so I'm going to put it right there front and center. So when I come down the stairs and I turn the corner to my desk, that should be the first thing that I see. So I want to know what you think. First of all, if you've read this book, tell me about it. Tell me if you loved it as much as I did. Tell me if you had the same idea to make your own perfect year, or at least your perfect month. And tell me what you think of this idea of forward planning in this way. So many of us do this. So many of us are planners, but we plan the logistics and the realities of our life and not necessarily the frosting on the cake, right? The extras that could elevate the whole experience. And that's what I wanted to play around with. I mean, think about it. We could do this for every month. You could do this for every year if you wanted to really get big, like the character did in the book. And it just seems like such a worthwhile, but also just a, you know what, just a way to slow down a bit and plan out what you want things to look like and how you want them to go instead of just trying to keep up. So I'm ready for April. Again, if you want to download mine and follow along with me, I would love it. You can just get that PDF right there in the show notes. And if you make your own, I would love to know about that too. If you're willing, I would love to see it. I would love to steal your ideas and put them on my calendar. And I just think it would be such fun for us to do this for ourselves and each other. So you know where to find me to send your comments. You can head to elitlife.com and click on the show notes for this episode and leave me a comment there. You can find me on social media, most of the platforms at AfinitoLit, and you can comment on my post or send me a DM. You can click on that audio message button in your podcast platform and just send me a message to let me know what you think. And you can always just pop me an email and send me your calendar to show me what you've been up to at stephanieaffinito@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, everyone, and for entertaining my ideas and the experimenting that I've been doing. I can't wait to see what you think of it, and I can't wait to hear if you try this practice of your own. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you inside the next episode. And until then, happy April, and get looking at that calendar and see what you could do. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. Plus, if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, bibliotherapy book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking challenges, live events, giveaways, and much, much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.